My GF disinvited me from her sister's wedding and took her ex because her mother called me a downgrade. Can you imagine pouring everything you have, your time, your money, your very soul, into building a future with someone, only for them to uninvite you from their sister's wedding because their mother called you a downgrade? And then, you find out they showed up with their ex? That's not even the most shocking part. The real drama began when I decided to expose every single one of her lies. Story begins, I used to think I had a solid relationship. A real future. Turns out, I was just the emergency backup guy while my girlfriend chased chaos. One wedding, one vicious comment, and one ex-boyfriend later, everything blew up spectacularly. You know that moment when you realize you weren't the boyfriend, you were just the emergency contact? Yeah, that was my entire 2-year relationship with Kristen. For 2 whole years, I genuinely thought I was building something real, something permanent. But it feels like I was just the contractor she hired to fix the foundation after the last guy, Blake, burned the house down. Once the repairs were done, she didn't need the guy with the tools anymore. She wanted the guy who set the fire. My name is Owen, I'm 29. I work in pharmaceutical quality control. My job is to make sure the medications leaving our facility won't kill anyone. It's meticulous work, testing batches, verifying documents, shutting down production lines if something's off. It pays well, $82,000 a year with benefits. Not flashy, but stable. Reliable. I met Kristen back in October 2022. It was a Tuesday morning at a coffee shop near my apartment. She was 25, huddled at a corner table, openly weeping over her laptop. Completely lost in it. Her debit card kept declining at the register. She was on the phone with her bank, voice shaking, while the barista tapped her foot impatiently and the line behind her grew. Without really thinking, I just stepped forward. I've got hers, I told the barista, handing over my card. $4.80. That's all it took to start this mess. Kristen looked up at me, eyes red and swollen. Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you. I just waved it off. Don't worry about it. Can I buy you coffee sometime to pay you back? She asked. Sure. 3 days later, over that coffee, she poured out her story. A 3-year relationship with a guy named Blake. Blake the visionary. Blake the club promoter, who never actually promoted anything that made money. Blake borrowed $600 from her and never paid it back. Blake cheated on her with at least 3 women she knew about. Blake made her feel lucky. He even looked at her. When Blake finally dumped her for some 20-year-old cocktail waitress he met at his own event, Kristen completely fell apart. She stopped going to work, stopped answering her friends, just sat in her apartment eating takeout, and watching reality TV for weeks straight. That's when she met me. I was the opposite of Blake. I showed up when I said I would. I didn't borrow money. I didn't cheat. I didn't disappear for days on business trips. I was the boring guy who made boring look like a blessing. She told me I was exactly what she needed. She was done with the drama, done with the highs and lows. She wanted peace. And I gave her peace. Within 6 months, I helped her organize her financial disaster. She had $15,000 spread across 6 credit cards, interest rates between 17 and 24%. I showed her the spreadsheet. She was losing $340 a month just to interest. I helped her get a consolidation loan at 8%, close all the cards, set up automatic payments. I showed her how to budget. Within a year, she'd knocked down $5,000 of principal. She cried when her credit score jumped 70 points. I also co-signed on a newer car after Blake had totally destroyed her credit on the last one. When she decided to go back to school to finish her communications degree, I made it possible. She needed 9 classes at $950 each, plus books. She was working full-time, making $17 an hour. So, I covered the rent, $1,700 a month for 18 months. I ate chicken and rice 6 nights a week, wore the same 3 work shirts until they had holes in the armpits. My check engine light stayed on for 8 months because I couldn't afford the repair. But she graduated. Spring of 2024. I was front row, taking pictures, beaming with pride. 2 months later, she landed a job at a boutique PR firm, $41,000 a year, business cards, a desk by a window. She started going to yoga, buying new clothes, getting her nails done. She glowed with a confidence I hadn't seen when we met. I was so proud. I thought we were winning together. The first crack showed up at her parents' house. July 2024. Kristen's mom, Helen, hosted a summer cookout. The whole family was there. Her dad, David, grilled burgers. Her younger sister, Nicole, brought her fiancé. Extended family, cousins, the works. I brought potato salad, the good kind, with the pickles and the mustard. Helen was holding court on the back deck with her sister, Diane, Kristen's aunt. I was helping David at the grill when I heard my name. Diane's voice carried from the deck. She said I seemed nice. Helen agreed, but in that flat, almost dismissive tone people use for oatmeal. Very stable, very responsible. Diane asked if that was good, after the Blake disaster. Helen laughed, a humorless sound. Blake had personality. Blake was exciting. Owen is safe. I looked over. Kristen was sitting 5 feet from her mother, scrolling through her phone. She heard it. I know she did. She didn't say a word. David noticed me staring and quietly cleared his throat, asking how I wanted my burger. Medium is fine, I mumbled. He told me not to let Helen's commentary get to me. She had opinions about everything. But the thing was, Kristen had heard her mother call me boring to her aunt's face, and she hadn't said a word. I filed that away. A month later, Kristen started acting different. She changed her perfume. It was subtle, but I noticed. She'd been wearing this light floral thing for a year. One day, she came home smelling like something spicy and musky. When I asked about it, she just said the store was out of her usual. She started listening to different music in the car. Rap, mostly. Heavy bass, aggressive lyrics. She'd never been into that before. When I asked, she said she heard it at the gym, and it helped her focus. She started dressing differently for work too. Tighter clothes, more makeup. When I complimented her, she said she was just trying to look more professional. Then came the phone. Late August. We were watching a movie. Her phone was face up on the coffee table. A text came through. Asterisk Blake, still thinking about our talk. You free this weekend? Asterisk, the screen lit up for 3 seconds, then went dark. Kristen grabbed the phone immediately and flipped it over. Didn't say anything.
Didn't explain.
I asked who Blake was texting her. She said he'd reached out last week, checking in therapy, apologizing for how things ended. I pointed out she was texting him back. It's called closure, Owen. Adults do that. I didn't respond. Just watched the rest of the movie. But I noticed her phone never left her hand after that. A week later, another incident. September. I was making breakfast on a Saturday. Kristen was still in bed. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Asterisk Blake, can't wait to see you. Been too long. Asterisk, the screen dimmed. The preview vanished. Kristen walked in. I told her the phone went off. She grabbed it, face tight, typed fast. I asked who it was. Work stuff, she said. Then, group chat. When I asked if she was seeing Blake, she said they were just talking. Meeting for coffee once to close the chapter. Make amends. I pointed out his text said he couldn't wait to see her. She accused me of reading her texts. I said it was on the screen. She called it an invasion of privacy. Is it an invasion if you're lying? I thought. She insisted she wasn't lying. Coffee. Next month. October. I turned off the stove and ate in silence. She watched me, then called me paranoid. I didn't argue. Just finished eating and left. September brought Nicole's engagement party, another family event at Helen and David's house. Nicole and her fiancé Justin were getting married in October, and this was the official celebration. The house was packed. A catered food, open bar, a slideshow of Nicole and Justin's relationship playing on the TV. I showed up in a button-down and slacks, brought a bottle of wine. Helen greeted us at the door. Owen, so glad you could make it. She said it the way you'd thank the mailman for not losing a package. The party was going fine until dinner. We were all seated at the long dining table. David at the head, Helen next to him, Nicole and Justin, Kristen and me, Diane and her husband, a few cousins. Helen stood up with her wine glass. I want to make a toast to Nicole and Justin. Justin, you're everything we hoped Nicole would find. You're ambitious, charming, and you make our daughter light up when she talks about you. Everyone clapped. Then Helen looked at Kristen. Kristen, honey, I hope you're taking notes. This is what it looks like when you find the right one. The table went quiet. Kristen forced a tight smile. Thanks, Mom. Helen wasn't done. I mean, I know you're with Owen now, and he's wonderful in his own way, but when you were with Blake, there was just this energy. You were so alive. I set down my fork. David cleared his throat. Helen, let's not do this. But she pressed on. I'm just saying, there's something to be said for passion, for excitement. Owen is safe, but is that really what you want long-term? I looked at Kristen. She was staring at her plate. Say something, I said quietly. She didn't. I stood up and looked directly at Helen. If you think I'm boring, you can say it to my face instead of performing for the table. Helen blinked. I didn't say boring. You said safe. Same thing. I looked at Kristen one last time. And you're not saying anything. I walked to the bathroom, stayed there for 5 minutes trying to compose myself, then came back out. Kristen found me in the hallway. I'm sorry. She's had too much wine. She compared me to Blake in front of your entire family. I know. And it was inappropriate, but you know how she gets. And you didn't say anything. I didn't want to make a scene at Nicole's party, right? She grabbed my hand. I pulled it away. Owen, come on. I'm going home. Don't be dramatic. I'm not. I'm leaving. You do what you want. I drove home alone. She showed up 2 hours later, annoyed that I'd left without her. We didn't talk about it. 2 days later, Tuesday afternoon, I was at the apartment. Kristen was at work. Her iPad was on the kitchen counter charging. The screen lit up with a notification. Family thread. The preview showed Diane laughing about what Helen said at dinner. My heart sank. I picked up the iPad. It was unlocked. The Messages app was open to a group chat with Kristen, Helen, and Diane. I scrolled up. Way up. Kristen had texted them in early September. She missed the excitement Blake brought. Helen told her she was allowed to want more than stable. Diane said, don't settle. When Helen asked if different meant boring, Kristen didn't say no. Diane replied, you didn't have to LOL. My blood ran cold. I kept scrolling. Helen's next message was the knife twist. Bring Blake somewhere. See how you feel. See if there's still a spark. Kristen had called it terrible advice. Helen called it practical. I took photos of the screen with my phone. Every single message. Put the iPad back exactly where it was. Save the photos to a locked folder. When Kristen came home that night, I acted normal. Made dinner. Asked about her day. But inside I knew. Everything. October came fast. Nicole's wedding was October 12th, a Saturday. Kristen was the maid of honor. She'd been stressed for weeks, obsessing over every detail. The dress, the flowers, the seating chart. She wanted everything perfect. Nicole was marrying into serious money. Justin's family owned a medical supply company. The wedding was at an estate venue with an orchestra and expensive plated dinners. Kristen was terrified of embarrassing herself in front of Justin's family. I wanted to support her. So I bought a suit. New, not rented. $725 at a men's store downtown, navy blue, tailored fit. Got a fresh haircut. Had my car detailed. 2 nights before the wedding, I came home wearing the suit. What do you think? I asked. Kristen was on the couch with her phone. She looked up. Her face did something. Disappointment, maybe? Disgust. It's fine. Just fine. It's very you, Owen. Meaning it's boring. It's a navy suit. Every guy at that wedding will be wearing a navy suit, I said, trying to keep my voice even. I took off the jacket. What should I have gotten? I don't know, something with personality. Blake would have shown up in something bold. There it was. Blake. Again. I snapped. Blake would have shown up late and drunk. She replied, at least he'd be memorable. I hung the suit on the door, my jaw tight. I asked what time we were leaving Saturday. She didn't answer right away. Locked her phone and set it face down on the cushion. About that. I sat down across from her. About what? My voice was colder than I intended. She started talking about her mom, how she'd been saying some things about me and Blake. My jaw tightened further. Just say it, I told her. She thinks you're a downgrade. The word just hung there, heavy and cruel. She tried backing off, saying her mom didn't phrase it exactly like that, but yeah, Blake had charisma and energy. I was just safe, boring. Her mom thought she settled. I leaned forward, my voice barely a whisper. Say that word again. She tried to backtrack, saying she was just telling me what her mom said. I cut her off. You're uninviting me to your sister's wedding because your mom thinks I'm boring?
She said it wasn't about that.
She stood up, fidgeting. She said she didn't want me sitting there all night knowing they were comparing me. It would be awkward for both of us. I stood up too, my heart pounding. No, Kristen. You're protecting yourself. You're worried what Justin's rich family will think if you show up with a boring guy. She said that wasn't fair. Then tell me I'm wrong, I challenged. She didn't. I walked past her to the bedroom, grabbed my duffel bag from the closet, and started packing. She asked what I was doing. Leaving, I told her. She called me dramatic. I stopped, turned around. You just uninvited me to your sister's wedding and called me a downgrade. I'm not being dramatic. I'm being clear. She begged to talk about it. I just shook my head.
No.
You made your choice. You want to show up without me? Fine. Want to impress your mom and Justin's family? Go ahead. But I'm not sitting at home waiting for you to decide if I'm good enough. She asked where I was going. Hotel. For how long? We'll see. This is insane. Yeah, it is. I walked out.
She didn't follow me.
I didn't go to a hotel yet. I sat in my car in the parking garage for 20 minutes, heart hammering, trying to decide if I was overreacting. Then my phone buzzed. Trevor. My best friend since college. Quality control manager at a food processing plant. Solid guy. No nonsense. I met him at a dive bar 10 minutes from my apartment. Ordered a soda. Told him everything. Trevor listened without interrupting, just nodded. When I finished, he leaned back. So, she uninvited you to a family wedding because her mom thinks you're boring. Yep. And instead of defending you, she agreed. Basically. And now you're sitting here wondering if you overreacted. Kind of. He shook his head. You didn't. You need to leave her. We've been together 2 years. I helped her get out of debt. I co-signed her car, which is exactly why she's keeping you around.
You're not her boyfriend, man.
You're a subscription service. You provide the infrastructure, the rent, the car, the emotional stability. But she doesn't actually want you. She wants the benefits.
I stared at my glass. You know I'm right, Trevor said. Yeah.
My voice was flat. So, what are you going to do? I don't know yet. Saturday afternoon. Kristen left for the wedding venue around 2. She was staying at the hotel overnight to help Nicole with pre-wedding setup. She tried to act normal, gave me a quick, almost apologetic hug at the door. I'll be back Sunday morning. Have fun. She hesitated. Are we okay? We'll talk when you get back. She left. I waited 5 minutes, then went to the living room window. Our apartment was on the 4th floor. You could see the street below. I watched her walk out of the building. An Uber pulled up. She opened the back door. Then a guy leaned out to help the driver with her suitcase. Leather jacket. Flashy watch. That swagger walk.
Blake.
My stomach dropped. I stood there for a long time, hand pressed against the glass, watching the Uber drive away. She didn't uninvite me to protect me. She uninvited me so she could bring him. I grabbed my phone and called Trevor. I need help moving out. Trevor showed up 30 minutes later with his truck. You sure about this? He asked, looking at my determined face. Positive. Good. Let's do it clean. We had a system. Trevor had done this before when his brother left a bad relationship. Document everything. Take only what's yours. Leave no mess. I started with my clothes, 3 suitcases. Then my documents from the filing cabinet, birth certificate, passport, tax returns. grabbed my emergency cash from the lockbox, $500. Then the electronics, the 65-inch TV I bought, boxed it. My PlayStation, packed it. The Sonos speakers in the living room, bedroom, and kitchen. All mine. But the real move was the network. I walked over to the corner where the fiber modem and mesh router sat on a shelf. The internet account was in my name. I paid the $99 monthly bill. I unplugged the router, wrapped the cord, put it in my backpack. The apartment went dark in a different way. Smart lights offline, thermostat disconnected, Alexa silent, streaming services logged out. Trevor took photos of everything as we loaded the truck. Insurance, he said. In case she tries to say you stole something. Good call. I walked through the apartment one last time. Her furniture was still there. Her decorations. Her clutter. But the life was gone. I placed my key on the kitchen counter. No note. That's it. Trevor asked. That's it. We loaded my car behind Trevor's truck. He followed me to a Marriott downtown. I checked in, unloaded my stuff into the room, and sat on the edge of the bed. It was 4:45. The ceremony would start in 15 minutes. Trevor sat in the chair by the window. How you feeling? Honestly? Relieved. Good. Now turn off your phone. She's going to blow it up once she realizes you're gone. Not yet. I want to see how this plays out. At 7:38, my phone rang. David. Kristen's dad. I let it ring twice, then answered. Owen, are you at the hospital? I frowned. Hospital? No, I'm at a hotel. Why? Kristen told us you had a medical emergency. She said you collapsed right before you were supposed to leave and insisted she come to the wedding anyway because you didn't want to ruin Nicole's day. The audacity. David, I'm fine. No medical emergency. Then why aren't you here? And why is Blake sitting at your seat eating your salmon? Trevor's eyebrows shot up. He mouthed, put it on speaker. I did. David, Kristen uninvited me yesterday. She said you and Helen think I'm boring compared to Blake. She said my presence would make the family uncomfortable. What? David sounded genuinely shocked. Owen, I can't stand that clown. He borrowed $600 from me 3 years ago and tried to pitch me on some NFT scheme at Thanksgiving. I've been trying to get him kicked out, but Kristen keeps crying about needing emotional support. Trevor was shaking his head, grinning. Well, she has him now, I said. And she doesn't have me. What do you mean? I moved out, David. While she was at the ceremony. I'm done. I could hear background noise, music, glasses clinking, people talking. Owen, don't do this. She's stressed. She's an idiot right now, but we can fix this. There's nothing to fix. She looked me in the eye, called me a downgrade, and replaced me with her ex at your daughter's wedding. That's character, not stress. David was quiet for a moment. Then his voice dropped. Blake just tried to hand Justin's father a business card for a podcast that doesn't exist. Trevor let out a short, incredulous laugh. Tell Nicole congratulations, I said. And tell Kristen she can have the upgrade full-time now. Oh, and wait. I hung up, powered off the phone. Trevor stood up. That was perfect. Yeah. Clean, factual, no begging. Now let's order food and watch the game. I told Trevor to leave his phone on. I wanted to know how this played out. He asked why I cared if I was done with her. I said I didn't care about her. I cared about being right. Trevor grinned, and we ordered pizza. Turned on the game. His phone sat on the coffee table. 20 minutes later, it buzzed. Unknown number. I told him to answer. He put on speaker. It was Nicole, Kristen's sister. She'd gotten Trevor's number from David and was looking for me. I said I was there. She was practically in tears. Apologized profusely. Said she had no idea Kristen was bringing Blake. Said Kristen told them I was in the hospital. Blake was causing an absolute scene. Drunk. Tried pitching Justin's dad, a federal judge, on some podcast during cocktail hour. Trevor muted the phone and grinned, a silent high five. Unmuted it. I asked where Kristen was. Nicole said Kristen was defending Blake. David tried getting security to remove him, But Kristen started crying about needing emotional support because I was supposedly in the hospital. She's hijacking my day, Owen,
Nicole cried.
She's making my wedding about her drama. I told her I was so sorry. She said it wasn't my fault and she was about to kick Kristen out of the bridal suite. You don't have to, I said. Yes, I do. She hung up. Trevor looked at me. Blake's getting bounced.
Good.
10 minutes later, Amanda texted Trevor, Kristen's coworker from that dinner, the one with the protein powder boyfriend. She said security was escorting Blake out. Then she sent a video. 23 seconds of shaky footage. Blake, in his cheap suit, arguing with a guard in the lobby. This is suppression of entrepreneurship, man. I'm a thought leader. The guard was stone-faced. Sir, you need to leave. Kristen was in the background, hands over her face. Helen appeared on screen. You're embarrassing my daughter. Which daughter? Blake shot back, just before the video cut off. Kristen had asked him to come. Trevor replayed it. Thought leader. That's incredible. Amanda texted again. Nicole kicked Kristen out. Blake left with the bridesmaid. David shut down Helen's spin about Owen being controlling. Trevor set his phone down. You want to respond?
No.
You good?
Yeah.
We watched the rest of the game. Ate pizza. Around 11 o'clock, I stood up. I should head back to the hotel. You good? Yeah, I'm good. I drove back to the Marriott, went up to my room. Didn't think about Kristen or Blake or the wedding. I just slept. Sunday was quiet. I kept my phone off, slept until 10 o'clock, went for a run, had lunch at a diner, and read a book. Monday morning, I was up at 6 o'clock, made coffee, opened my laptop at the hotel desk. I handled everything I'd been paying for. Sent the landlord formal notice with the photos Trevor took during the move. Transferred utilities out of my name, effective in 72 hours. Changed every single password. Removed Kristen from Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, Amazon. Frozen my credit, set fraud alerts. Emailed HR a heads up that my ex-partner wasn't authorized in the building. Downloaded 2 years of transaction history, showing every payment I'd made. Rent, car, groceries, insurance. Saved it all to a folder labeled evidence. The only petty thing I did was take the router. Not to hurt her, but to remind myself I was done being the infrastructure. I powered on my phone at 8:30. 63 missed calls. 108 texts. 17 voicemails. Trevor knocked 20 minutes later with 2 coffees. I scrolled through the message previews. My phone had become a slot machine of panic. Where are you? Where's the TV? My dad is screaming at me. You embarrass me. Blake left with a bridesmaid. You took the router. And finally, Monday morning. Can we please just talk? I made a mistake. Trevor leaned over and called it the classic cycle. Anger, gaslighting, panic, blame, then begging. All 5 stages in under 24 hours. I archived the entire thread without responding. Then I blocked her number. At 6 o'clock that evening, I was walking to my car in the parking garage at work. She was waiting there, leaning against my driver's side door, sunglasses on, even though it was overcast. Arms crossed. When she saw me, she straightened up. You blocked me. I did. We need to talk. We don't. Owen, you can't just move out without talking to me. That's insane. I stopped 10 feet away. You uninvited me to your sister's wedding so you could bring Blake. Then you told your family I was in the hospital to cover for it. What's insane is thinking there's anything left to discuss. She stammered. I panicked. He texted me. I thought I needed closure. So, you brought him to a family wedding. It was a mistake. He got drunk, hit on Nicole's sister-in-law, tried selling Justin's dad crypto, then left with a bridesmaid. She took off the sunglasses. Her eyes were red and swollen. I'm sorry that happened, I said, a chilling calm in my voice. But I'm not surprised. I know. You were right. Her voice was barely a whisper. I miss you, Owen. You miss the rent being paid. That's not fair. Tell me one thing you miss about me that doesn't involve something I do for you. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. I unlocked my car. The beep echoed in the garage.
My dad won't even talk to me, she wailed.
He'll forgive you eventually. I won't. I can't afford the apartment alone. I opened the door. Utilities shut off Wednesday if you don't call. Rent's due in 3 weeks. What about the car? Refinance it in your name. You've got 30 days. I can't get approved. Then sell it. I'm not staying on that loan. I got in and closed the door. Started the engine. She was yelling something, but I couldn't hear it through the glass. I backed out and drove toward the exit. Checked the mirror once. She was standing there, alone in the shadows. I turned on the radio and drove to Trevor's place. 2 days later, Wednesday morning, Trevor sent me a screenshot. Kristen had posted something on social media. Vague victim stuff about people who abandon you when you need them most. About growth and learning who's real. Comments were already piling up. Helen praising her strength. Friends asking what happened. Trevor called and asked if I'd seen it. I had. He asked if I was going to respond. Not directly, I said. He told me to let her bury herself. An hour later, I got a DM from Jessica, someone I didn't know. Friend of Kristen's cousin. She said the post was messed up, that I didn't abandon her, that Kristen brought her ex to a wedding and lied about me being in the hospital. Just wanted you to know people were talking. I didn't respond. That afternoon, another DM. This one from Helen. Helen Hayes. Owen, I don't know what Kristen did to upset you, but publicly humiliating her by leaving without warning is cruel. She's devastated. You could have handled this with more grace. Damage control. I was sitting at a coffee shop with Trevor. I showed him Helen's message. He laughed. Her mom's trying to flip the script. I asked if I should respond. He said, only if you're going to end it in one move. I opened my photos, found the screenshots from the iPad. The group chat where Kristen told her mom she missed Blake's excitement. Where Helen told her to bring Blake somewhere to test the spark. I uploaded them to my story. No caption. Just the image. Set it to public. Then I replied to Helen's DM. I handled it with exactly the amount of grace it deserved. I blocked her. Blocked Kristen again. Deleted the apps. Trevor looked up from his phone and confirmed. You just posted the receipts. Ice cold, he said, grinning. I told him she wanted to make it public, so I made it public. 20 minutes later, Trevor showed me his phone. The screenshot had been shared 4 times already. Comments were rolling in. People saying they knew there was more to the story, calling out the victim act. I didn't read any more of it. Put my phone away and ordered another coffee. 2 weeks later, I went back with Trevor and the building manager to get my furniture. Kristen tried blocking the door. Helen showed up and screamed about trauma. I took my bed, my bookshelf, my desk. Left Kristen sitting on the floor, crying. Told her good luck and walked out. By 3 that afternoon, everything was set up in my new place. 3 weeks later, mid-November, Kristen missed the car payment. I got the alert on my phone at 8 o'clock in the morning. Trevor was at my new apartment helping me set up my bookshelf. She missed it. I said, my voice flat. You going to cover it? Once, to protect my credit. Then I'm done. I logged into my bank account and paid the $295. Saved a receipt. Sent her a text from a texting app, since she blocked my main number. I covered this month's payment. Refinance into your name by December 1st, or I'm forcing a sale. She responded with the usual cycle. Her credit wasn't ready. Could I just stay on a little longer? She was trying to get her life together, and I was making it harder. My response, December 1st. A week before the deadline, she texted, my dad wants to talk to you about the car. An hour later, David called. He knew I was upset with Kristen and said I had every right, but he was asking as a favor. Could I give her more time? She was struggling. Back home, lost her apartment, embarrassed. The car was the one stable thing she had. No, I said. She should have made the payment. He asked man to man. Give her until January. He'd make sure she made the payments. David, I respect you. But this isn't about her anymore. It's about my credit. She had 8 weeks to refinance. She didn't. I gave her 1 free pass. She's not getting another. He was quiet, then said he understood.
He was sorry it came to this.
He told Helen she was wrong about me, about Blake, all of it. I thanked him. We said good luck, and hung up. December 1st came. No refinance. Then she missed the next payment too. I called the lender and explained the situation. They walked me through the options. Since both names were on the loan, and she was in possession of the vehicle, I couldn't just repo it. But I could force a sale if she refused to cooperate. I sent her one final text. You missed the deadline. I'm initiating a forced sale through the lender. You can either cooperate and we sell it privately to get a better price, or they'll auction it and you'll lose even more money. Your choice. She replied, asking if I was really going to take her car. Then, I hate you. Noted, I thought. She tried to hide the car, parked it at a friend's house, refused to respond to the lender's calls. It didn't matter. The lender had her info. They sent a tow company. Took 3 weeks, but they got it. The car sold at auction for $18,000. She still owed $19,500. The lender contacted her about the deficiency balance. David ended up covering it to keep it off my credit. My name came off the loan December 22nd. I got the confirmation email and saved it in the evidence folder. She sent me one last text. You took my car. I protected my credit. You had 3 chances. You chose not to take any of them. I blocked the texting app number. Deleted the app. December came. I heard through David that Kristen had moved back in with her parents. Helen was apparently furious. Nicole wasn't speaking to her. Blake was in a relationship with the bridesmaid.
I didn't feel bad.
Not one bit. March 2025, 5 months after the wedding. I was leaving the gym on a Saturday afternoon when I saw her, sitting on a bench outside. She wasn't wearing sunglasses this time. She looked smaller, tired.
Owen.
I stopped. Kristen. She asked if we could talk. I told her we didn't have anything to talk about. She begged for 5 minutes. Trevor's voice was in my head. Asterisk, don't engage. Walk away. Asterisk, but I was curious. I gave her 5 minutes. She stood up and told me she'd been in therapy, working on herself, understanding why she did what she did. She was scared of being boring, of being the girl who settled. Her mom was in her head. Blake texting brought back feelings and she panicked. I just looked at her, my face a mask. You replaced me at your sister's wedding and lied about me being in the hospital. She knew it was horrible. She'd apologized to her family, to Nicole.
She wanted to apologize to me.
I looked at her. She seemed genuine, but Trevor's words echoed louder than ever. Asterisk, you're not her boyfriend. You're a subscription service. Asterisk, apology noted. We done? I asked, my voice devoid of emotion. I was hoping we could try again.
No.
She said she'd changed. Maybe she had, but I didn't care. Her face fell. 2 years. And I just didn't care. I laid it out for her. I cared for 2 years. When I helped you with your debt, co-signed the car, covered rent for school. When your mom called me boring, and you didn't defend me. When you uninvited me and brought Blake. But caring runs out eventually. She said she made a mistake. I corrected her. Multiple choices. Now you're dealing with consequences. She asked if this was it. I was just done.
Yeah.
She tried one more angle. Blake contacted her last week and she didn't respond. She turned down a date because she was still in love with me. I gave her a small, tight smile. You're making better choices now. For yourself, not for me. She insisted we were good together. No, Kristen, I told her, my voice firm. I was good to you. There's a difference. She started crying. Quiet tears, apologizing. I said, I know, and walked past her toward the parking lot. She didn't follow this time. I got in my car and drove straight to Trevor's place. He was in his garage, working on his motorcycle when I pulled up. He asked what she wanted. Second chance, I said. He asked what I said.
No.
He grinned and tossed me a wrench. We worked on the bike for 2 hours. Didn't talk about Kristen or Blake. Just worked. When we finished, Trevor fired up the engine. It roared clean. He shut it off and asked if I was hungry. We went to a dive spot near the docks, ordered burgers, sat outside watching boats. Trevor raised his beer. To moving on. I raised my soda. To moving on. 2 months later, I met Rachel, a nurse at one of my company's hospitals. She asked me out first.
Direct.
No games. We went to dinner, talked for 3 hours, laughed the whole time. Second date, she asked about my last relationship. I gave her the short version. Ex brought her ex to a wedding instead of me. Lied about it. I left. She just nodded.
Her loss, she said.
Asked if I was over it completely. I told her. Good. I don't do drama. Neither do I, she replied, and we haven't. Call to action. This whole experience really taught me about standing up for myself and knowing my worth. But it was incredibly painful at the time. I'm curious, after hearing everything, what would you have done in my place? Have you ever had to draw a hard line with someone you loved, even when it hurt? Tell me what you think in the comments below. I really want to know.